Good morning, Miigwech. As we prepare to ground ourselves in the land, I invite you, if you feel comfortable, to join with me, as an Anishinaabe elder taught me this past Friday at a gathering I was at. If you feel comfortable, to place your hand on your heart, to feel the heartbeat, to feel the warmth, and imagine that you can also feel the heartbeat of the land that's coming up through your feet as we just ground ourselves in this place at this time. And we acknowledge that we are hosted on the sacred traditional lands of the Mississaugas of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, and the Wendat. We also recognize the enduring presence of all First Nation, Métis, and Inuit peoples. This land is protected by the dish with one spoon wampum agreement. The dish represents the land that is to be shared peacefully, and the spoon represents the individuals living on and using the resources of the land. In a spirit of mutual cooperation, may we all walk together in a good way, a way of peace and harmony. The Christ light was lit to welcome us all into this place, and it holds the teachings of the Christ, our dark-skinned peacemaker who taught us and teaches us to live in peace and harmony. I invite us now to join together to rise in your body or in your spirit to sing It's a Song of Praise to the Maker. More Voices, number 30.
Please be seated. We welcome everyone to worship today, friends, whether we're here in the sanctuary or folks tuning in online. We're grateful that you're joining us today on Indigenous Day of Prayer. This Wednesday, June 21st, the summer solstice, is National Indigenous Peoples Day here in Canada, and we're fortunate to have the opportunity to celebrate First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples, their values, customs, and their culture. I also want to wish all the dads out there a happy Father's Day today, along with all of us who are celebrating that this day. My name is James Aitchison. I'm grateful to be sharing leadership with Jason Locke this morning, sharing also with Reverend Minnie Hornage and Reverend Roger Landell. Will be reading scripture. Thank you both for being with us today. I said that to Raj. He's like, well, it's nice to see you too. And I'm grateful to be getting back and into the rhythm here after some time away. We had a great music Sunday last week, and the choir will be off for the season. Of course, we've got the concert this afternoon, but it's nice to have the staff singers leading us in song this morning. And today it's our privilege to welcome a guest speaker. We have Indigenous artist and activist Philip Cote with us this morning. He's a young spiritual elder. As well as an activist and artist, he's an educator, historian, and ancestral knowledge keeper. And I will allow Philip to introduce himself a bit more formally or thoroughly as he likes when he has time to share. We're grateful to have you with us today. Miigwech. We're also grateful that Reverend Maya can take a time of rest this morning, or at least a little bit, time with family. She reminds us each week when we gather here that we are a community that doesn't always think the same, vote the same, or love the same. But we are trying our best to follow in the way of Jesus, our dark-skinned peacemaker. And whenever we gather to worship together, we pause and honor the cloud of witnesses and acknowledge their presence with us. And as Minnie will light our memorial candles now, we can all hold in our hearts all our relations, dear ones who've gone before us and who continue shining their light in our lives. We hold light in particular today for two dear souls. Most of you know Lori in the office. Well, her partner Frank, his mother died just this last week, so we hold light for Peggy Carr. We're also holding light today for Carol Lawton, who is in the hospital at the moment. Reverend Maya was able to visit her yesterday, and David had asked that we would hold light for her, and just we're praying for their whole family. And so I'll invite you to join me as we keep our prayers moving, and we'll honor the four directions and seek their blessing and their guidance. So join me in prayer together. Great Spirit who comes out of the east, we are thankful for the light of the rising sun. And we pray that there will be light on the path we walk, and let us remember always to be thankful that you give us the gift of a new day. Spirit of creation, we turn our hearts to the south, and we are thankful for you sending the warm and soothing winds that comfort us and caress us when we are tired and cold. Unfold us as your gentle breezes unfold the leaves on the trees. And as you give your warm, moving wind to all the earth, may we grow close to you. In great life-giving Spirit, we face to the west, the direction of the sundown. And let us remember every day that the moment will come when our sun will go down. Never let us forget that we must fade into you. And we pray you would give us beautiful color, give us a great sky for setting, so that when it is our time to meet you, we will come with glory. Great Spirit of love, come to us with the power of the north. Make us courageous when the cold winds of life fall upon us. Give us strength and endurance for everything that is harsh, for everything that hurts, everything that makes us squint. Let us move through life ready to receive what comes from the north. And giver of all life, help us to be thankful for the gift of the earth, and teach us how to use well your gifts. Hold in our memory that you are the creator, eager for our good life. Let everything that is in the world lift our minds and our hearts and our lives to you, so that we may come to you always in truth and in heart. Miigwech. Amen. We'll now invite you to rise again and sing. Our next hymn is More Voices 37, Each Blade of Grass.
Listen for the word of God. The wisdom literature, Proverbs 8, verses 1 to 4 and 22 to 31. Does not wisdom call, and does not understanding raise her voice? On the heights beside the way, at the crossroads she takes her stand. Beside the gates in front of the town, at the entrance of the portals she cries out to you, O people I call, and my cry is to all that live. The Lord created me at the beginning of his work, the first of his acts of long ago. Ages ago I was set up at the first, before the beginning of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water, before the mountains had been shaped, before the hills I was brought forth. When he had not yet made earth and fields, or the world's first bits of soil, when he established the heavens, I was there. When he drew a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when he established the fountains of the deep, when he assigned to the sea its limit, so that the waters might not transgress his command, when he marked out the foundations of the earth, then I was beside him like a master worker, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing before him always, rejoicing in his inhabited world, and delighting in the human race. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. Thanks be to God.
Very nice music today. Ani Boju Tanzi Sego, welcome everyone. Anashnabi Ajenikajuan, Nojmon Mashkogiash, Ingichi Manadu and Dodam, Mishupichu, Nin Anashnavi Shani, Lakota Padawadami, Ojibwe, Algonquin, Mississauga, Minnehik, Mohawk. My name is Phil Cote, and my real name is Nochmoen Muskogeashk. Cote was a name that came to our family from my great-grandfather. He changed his name from Muskogeashk to Cote. It was very politically hard times for Indigenous people when he was alive. And for a lot of you, maybe you don't even know about these kinds of things, but they had a system called the pass system. So Indigenous people could not leave their reserve unless they got permission from the local Indian agent. So it was like that for my great-grandfather. And so he wanted to support his family. And he knew that he couldn't support them staying on the reserve. So he asked to leave. And they recommended that he change his name so that he can get more acceptance out there in this Western world. And so he said, yeah, I'll change my name to something that will fit where he was going, because he wanted to go work up in the logging camps in North Bay. And for those of you who travel Ontario, you know that's a big French-speaking community up there. And he chose the name Philip Cote. And he chose to name his first son Philip Cote. So I'm Philip Cote III. At least that's what I put on my Facebook page and my Instagram page. So I have a lot to say, and I know that I only have a certain amount of time, but I want to do a song first, because the song is a really vital part when a wisdom keeper or a knowledge keeper is sharing knowledge. We have to acknowledge the ancestors. And so we do a song that speaks to them. And I have a drum here. And on the back is the medicine wheel. You can see it. And on the front, there's all kinds of little animals in that design there. Anyways, it was given to me because I found out a big, important secret. That when you see something you really like and somebody has it, you tell them 3 times that looks awesome and wonderful. Anyways, the mother of the daughter told me that that's what I should say to the daughter. And I did, and she handed the drum to me. So I have this drum now. I've been using it a lot, so honoring the gift. And what's good about this object, tool, this is for ceremonial use. But it's when we use this, when we hit this, we're knocking on the door of the ancestors and we're calling them. So that's why we do it. So you ever wonder why Indigenous people have all these drums and these songs that they do? It's because of that. And it's a big story. I might get into it today before I leave the stage, the podium here. But I'm going to do a song for you guys. And this is I don't do this song too often anymore, but I'm going to do it today. This is the bear song. And why is this important? Because the bear song represents the time we're in, the 8th fire. And they say at this time, many white animals will show themselves to you. And, of course, the last 2 decades, we've heard about all these white animals across Canada. So the white animals sacrifice themselves to tell us the message that the 8th fire is here, the time of the Spirit. So this is for all the white animals, and this is for all the white animal in you guys, because that Spirit is in us too. And, we're here to do a job, open up the way to this new world, that is going to be a more spiritual world. And I have a feeling there are big things in store between the Indigenous people and the people who worship in these temples. So maybe I'll have to come back and do another discussion on that, because there's too much to say. Okay. Way ya ya ho, way ya ya ho, ya way ya hey. Way ya ya ho, way ya ya ho, ya way ya hey. Ya way ya hey, yo ya way ya hey. Ya way ya hey, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Manatu Makwa, Gabinagasi, Manatu Makwa, Ha Beja Winishna, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Manatu Makwa, Gabinagasi, Manatu Makwa, Ha Beja Winishna, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Manatu Makwa, Gabinagasi, Manatu Makwa, Ha Beja Winishna, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Wea Yaho, Wea Yaho, Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Yahweh Yahweh, yo Yahweh Yahweh, Manatu Makwa, Gabinagasi, Manatu Makwa, Ha Beja Winishna, Oho Miigwech Matakuyas and Kishni Wakasa, Tankashila Oyete Omi Mai, Pilamai Matakus and all my relations. Oho Miigwech. So, where's my... I'm going to do this. I brought a PowerPoint. I'm very contemporary. So, I use the tools that everybody uses in universities. And it's important because, you got to keep track of the story. I probably won't be able to get through this whole thing, but it's a very interesting story that I imagine you've never heard before. And there's lots of reasons why that is, and it's not your fault at all. It's just society kind of. Okay, hold on. Let's. Okay, do I have to point at this thing? Okay, I pressed all three buttons. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I got to aim at that thing. Oh, yeah. Just this middle button, right? Okay, there we go. Okay, so artistic practice. So I'm an artist, as well as a wisdom keeper, pipe carrier, sweat lodge leader, sun dancer. I have many. I belong to the Eagle Society, False Face Society. So, but I guess my main fame these days is I'm an artist, and I do a lot of public artwork, and I put it out there. And the reason being is because I'm trying to help the future. Because our young people don't know who they are. And there's lots of reasons for that. But this artwork that I do is about the stories of our history and our culture. And so I put it out there for everyone because not everyone knows who we are. And because, the narratives that you guys all understand and have heard have come from other settlers. So we don't actually have our story out there anywhere. So it's just starting to happen now. It's happening now because there are more and more wisdom keepers who are putting themselves out there so that everyone can hear these stories. And this is one of my paintings. I did. This is what started my whole woodland style of work, painting. And I did this style because I was working at an Indigenous youth shelter back in 2004. And I was there for about 3.5 years, and I also worked in the prisons at that time, bringing cultural practice into the prisons. So I went in there to run sweats with the guys in the prison. And I also worked with the women too, at Vanier. But those were 2 prisons out that way that I worked in. And so I started painting, and I was the lead in the cultural practice of what these young people were in need of, and they put me in charge of that culture in that programming at this institution. And I wanted to give the young people something that would be beneficial to them. And I could have just taught them how to paint and draw like I was taught at the universities and colleges. But that wasn't what they needed. So I realized that I needed to bring some kind of cultural element into this. And so I started thinking about Norval Morrisseau. And I always knew about him, of course. He was one of my heroes growing up. And his practice was to do the woodland-style painting. And so I thought, okay, this is the way I should go. I should figure out that I want to put these young people in their minds what this culture is all about, where it comes from. So this is what I chose. I chose a woodland-style painting. And this is still done at Fort York. It's quite long. It's 80 feet long, and there's 20 panels, and each panel is 4 by 5, so they're quite big even by themselves. But it's an amazing project that I did with those youth, getting them to think about our culture. And of course, I would do smudging and pipe ceremonies with these young people and take them to sweats every once in a while. Maybe I can take some of you to a sweat, because we just rebuilt our sweat a couple of weeks ago, and we'd stopped practicing our sweat ceremonies for a while in honor of my brother-in-law, who was Vern Harper, and he passed away 5 years ago now. And so we wanted to honor his spirit, and we didn't use the sweat for this long. And so it was just a couple of weeks ago that we decided we were going to run the sweats again. And I was very excited that we were going to do that. It's been a long time since I've done a sweat, and it was really good feeling. Okay. Yeah, I think maybe it's this battery in this thing.
I'll just be ready.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to tell you our story from the beginning, because this is part of this whole idea of, practice. So in the beginning, there was a great black void. So there it is. It's all black. Next. And there was a spirit in that black void. And that spirit decided to send out 4 signals into the universe and wait for a response. And when there was no response, that spirit called the signals back and said, as you come back to me, create light in the universe. So at that moment, all the stars were born. And from them, all the planets began to form until a planet that could hold life. That's where we come into the picture. Next. So this is the depiction of that moment where that spirit called that light into the universe. And so that feathery-like object, and this is down in the Humber River. So I have work all over Toronto and all these buildings, and so you can pretty much go and see our story all across the city. And so that's a mathematical equation in front of the man's face. And this was done by science. They figured out how to map the universe and where all the stars would be and how it would be shaped across the whole universe. So this is hundreds of millions of light years across, this image. And I think it's amazing. It looks like a feather. So this is work that I did down in the Humber River. I had collaborators. Quest and Jarvis were 2 well-known street artists who helped me in this work down there. So Quest did all the big blue background. Jarvis did the fish and other animals that were going to be part of elements in that water. And then I was responsible for these medallion images in the center. And there's a lot of meaning behind these too. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. But so the collaboration really worked. I feel like it was a big success. Even when I go down there now, I feel, wow, this is awesome. Look at the size of this thing. It's sitting right there, and I did this. So I'm always amazed, too, when I go back to look at my work, especially if I haven't seen it for a while, and it refreshed my memory, and I realized, okay, you did a good job. Next. So here's another one. This is the arrival of the first human. He comes down to the earth, and he goes across the land. And what he's doing is he's naming everything. So when he's doing that, our language is evolving from him naming everything. And he's connecting with the land and all the animals. And he's going all across the whole place. And he's like one of them. But he does get lonely after a while, and he figures, well, I've noticed that all the animals have families. Like, how come I'm here alone? And so the story goes like this, that he went to the Creator a couple of times to try and find out why he was alone. So the Creator finally gave in, decided he was going to give him an answer. He said, this is an important journey. You're taking the first steps for all of the men. And but he said, I'll send you a companion. So he sent him the Maigan to be his companion as he walked across the land, finishing naming everything. So Maigan is the wolf right there. So that became the first brother of man. So, the wolves are still our brothers even to this day. When we think about dogs, they're the descendants of wolves. They're man's best friend. And they still act like it too. They never change their tune. They're still our friends after all this time. It's important, right? Because, sometimes your dog is the only friend you got, right? So they're very loyal. I love them. Next. And so from that, we have these other systems that were used to organize humans, called the clan system. You had these different clans representing different kinds of power within that circle of organized community. And so you have the loon and the crane are two chieftain clans. The deer is the teaching clan. The marten is the warrior clan. The little seed carrier is the spiritual awareness clan. The bear is the medicine clan. The fish is the intellect, along with the turtle. And this is all really, I can go right into a deep rabbit hole just talking about all this and where it goes. But it shows you on the list here. But I didn't need to look at the list because I know all this in my heart. And but this is the way our communities held things together, as people got put into clans. My clan's not on there, of course. Mine is the Mishipishu. So when I did my introduction this morning, that word was in there, Mishipishu. So Mishipishu are the underwater panthers. They're very mysterious creatures. They're depicted on rock walls and birch bark scrolls. They usually show them like it almost looks like a dinosaur with these horns on the front of his head. But it's an underwater panther. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that as we go through this presentation. How long do I have to talk till? Okay, so I'm going to try and keep aware. Okay, next. So that idea of the Mishipishu is on this image here. This is the history of our people, starting from the first man all the way through time, even to the arrival of the Europeans, which is those boxes, because they brought this square thinking to North America. Indigenous people had, it's true, Indigenous people had circular thinking. Circular thinking means that everything's in cycles, and the world is all shaped in cycles. Everything about the whole world and the whole universe is in cycles, and everything is spinning into these circles. And that's a very powerful thing. The circle is a very powerful thing. Usually when I talk with people, I put them all in a big circle. And because energy goes through the whole circle. Don't matter if you believe or not, it does. The energy goes through that circle and it connects us all together for a short time like a family. That's why our ceremonies are always in circles. When we do them, the sweat ceremony's in a circle, the pipe ceremony's in a circle, the Sundance ceremony is in a circle. The Vision Quest is in a circle, but a singular circle, where just you are in there by yourself in this circle. But these cycles are important. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about who Indigenous people are. And I know that you haven't heard this before because it's not out there anywhere yet. And but one day it's going to be out there. I plan on writing a book. Who knows? Maybe it'll go into a university or something, and they'll teach this to the students. But these lines going up and down on this image here, they represent two important things. They represent the physical world and the spirit world. And we're in the middle. That's the way our philosophy is, that we are on this road in the middle of these two worlds our whole lives. And so it's up to us to try and stay in the middle. And the reason why it's important, because this is how we operate from. We never just operate from here. We operate from the heart. You know, because heart thinking, that's what I call it. Heart thinking is long-term thinking, and it's the kind of thinking that will be felt 7 generations from now. If you did this while you were here, they're going to look back and see the stuff that you did, that you were trying to make a difference. So I tell this to everybody when I do my talks and talk to all different kinds of people, university students, elementary school students, high school students, or just communities. Sometimes I do community work too. And I come and I talk about our culture and how it's something that everybody can learn from. Because, you know, when we talk about this culture, we're not talking about a religion. We're talking about a way of life. And that's very different, because that way of life is about... Why we say that is because, you know, we look at, like here, the history goes back 1 million years in Ontario. You know, we have our ancestors and our elders are saying that we've been here for over 2 ice ages. 2 ice ages is 1 million years, so that, and over that. So I'm believing that these elders know what they're talking about. And so that's observation time of 1 million years. They've seen a lot of things on the planet. There's a lot of mystery still on this planet Earth that we don't understand why things operate a certain way. But, you know, our ancestors were looking at these things and they incorporated some of those things into our belief system so that we'd stay in tune with the world, you know, the way this world operates. And on this chart here, you can see there's a cross-hatching on the pathway. Well, the guy who made this, I don't know if it was James Red Sky, but he was the last holder of this before it went to this guy named Selwyn Dewdney. Selwyn Dewdney is a researcher, artist, scholar, and he was trying to figure out who these Ojibwe people were, the Anishinaabe people. And so he went looking to us through our objects that we use to hang on to knowledge over long periods of time. And those objects are called birch bark scrolls. And this is one of those birch bark scrolls. I duplicated this, I drafted it out and digitized this so I could use it in my presentations and talk about it when I did my talks at various institutions. But the little cross-hatching is the scales on the back of the Mishipishu. So the Mishipishu is the most powerful creature from the underworld, and it's the protector of humans down there. So, you know, because there's all kinds of things that can go on in the underworld. And we don't think of the underworld as the bad place. We think of the underworld as the spirit world. And a lot of things are possible down there. But that's our protector. And his image is put on this story here because they want to protect the story. So they put his marks on there so no one would touch it. I mean everything. Nothing would touch it. And so that the square boxes is the Europeans' arrival. And they're thinking, we're at the end of those boxes right now. We're just getting ready to go into this new time. And you can see there's nothing on the pathway. That's because we're going to write it together, this new pathway. You know, because this new time is the time of the Spirit, but it's also a time of the merging of the cultures. The two cultures are going to merge. And that's an important thing to do, because when that merging happens, it's going to create these new people. And they're the ones that are going to lead us all into this new history. We're at the beginning of something very important. It's not an accident that you were born at this time. You were meant to be here to either be part of this or witness this. And that's the way my elders talk to me. And I believe them, and I have faith. And I think that's what this is all about. This new time is going to be about having a sense of faith. And I think we're going to work together. That's why I'm here in the church today. I've been working with the church for a couple of years now, the United Church, and it's crazy. But even on my grandma's home reserve, Cape Croker, her family built the United Church on the reserve there. So there's a lot of strange little connections, And I didn't come looking for the church, it came looking for me. Because Ann Hines is the minister down there, and she saw my mural on Roncesvalles, and she said, "Hey, that looks beautiful. Who's the artist?" So she came looking for me, and she asked me what I thought about having a mural, painting a mural in her church. And I agreed. I said, sure, I'll paint the mural because it'll be a good thing. Because I'm really open to this idea that we're going to share our knowledge now. And that merging thing, it all fits together so well. So next. So part of this storytelling is talking about this ancient object. It's probably I'd say this is about 5,000 years old, this object. It's recent, though, because, we haven't used this or put this out there. This just started happening around the 1960s when this object came out of nowhere, and people didn't know what they were looking at. But they called it a medicine wheel. And it has 4 colors that represent 4 different directions, as you can see. It represents the 4 elements, the 4 medicines. It represents the 4 races of man. 4 colors, and it represents the animals, the power animals in each of those directions too. And then on the outside I have a list of animals that are connected to those directions. It's that those animals come from those directions, and that's their kind of power. And but it's also it's a chart for your lifetime, what you're going to go through in your lifetime. So yellow, white, black, red. So yellow is in the east. That's the beginning. That's the water time. So you're in when you're in that water phase, you're between 1 and 25. 25 to 50, you're in the air stage. 50 to 75, you're in the fire stage. And 75 to 100, you're in the earth stage. So the water stage is a really good stage. All you guys that are under 25 here, you guys are very resilient. You can go through many, many obstacles and still, come out unscathed. If you notice that when they've had any major conflicts in the world, they don't send the old people. They send the young people because they're resilient. They're able to go through these dangerous places and come back relatively safe, although not all the time. But the second stage is the air stage. That stage is when you begin to you develop your mind and put a narrative onto your total existence. So you begin to really open up to this idea that your story is important, and you begin to develop that narrative about all the things that you experienced to that point. And that's a really important thing because, that's the way you build your memory and put a context sometimes on your experiences in life. And the next stage is the fire stage. That's where I am. This is where you begin to, this is a sacred fire. That's what they're talking about. And then you say the fire stage, this heart is the sacred fire. And we're all connected through that too. All our sacred fires are all linked together in this room. And we're even linked to the sun, because the sun is the same heat that comes from our heart, it comes from the sun. And we're connected to the sun. So our elders tell us that the sun knows what we're doing down here. So the sun even knows when we have a black heart that we're doing something bad down here. So it's not about guilt tripping. This is just a reflection. This universe and world is a very balanced object, and we're part of it. And when these connections happen, okay, so I'm going to give you, for instance, It's not just me talking up here and making a big fancy story. Okay? So during World War I and II, scientists were studying the sun. And they noticed that during those years of conflict on the earth, and great conflict, that there was these enormous black spots appearing on the sun. And they monitored that, and they saw, wow, look at these things evolving on the sun. They could see them, literally. Our elders heard that story, and they said, oh, we know it's because of all the darkness that's going on down, all the killing that's going on down here, that's all the Sacred Hearts going out. When all the Sacred Hearts the lights were being put out from the fighting and the killing, it was reflected in the sun. These big black spots appeared. And, I don't doubt it. I know it's something real, even though I can't explain it in the scientific term. It's a connection to these are really, we're really much more bigger in the universe than we imagine. This is a very special place there we're at on Earth. This planet is very special. And we're lucky to be here and have a life to experience and to see what this is all about, And one of the main reasons that our elders talk about these kinds of things is say, well, we talk about these things because, we're all here to learn something. And it always has to do with the heart. Some of your biggest obstacles and trials in your life is always connected to this. So, and how do we make that better? How do we understand? Well, we do stuff like this. Like we connect, we communicate, we share our stories, we share our values, we share our time together, and we open up. Because opening up means opening this up so that we can share that rare commodity with our community and loved ones. Our families know how much we love them, but we don't often show how much we love our community. And so this is how I do it. When I come out and talk, this is how I share my love for the community out here. And I never thought I'd be talking in a church. But here I am, sharing this knowledge. Okay, so next, please. Okay, so I know we're probably getting down to the moment where we're going to call it quits. But this is just some of my work at the local high schools. This is in Scarborough. I did some work for them. They wanted something, the woodland style. They wanted an Indigenous story. I talked about the sacred bear and the time we're in the 8th fire. And he added those elements up there on the top, the door frame of the front of the school, and brought in the sacred thunderbird and the family. That was a central part. So the protectors of the sky world and the underworld mural celebration at Cedar Break Collegiate Institute. And next, please. So this is a really important little diagram. A friend of mine developed this diagram, and I asked her, I said, can I use that? I said, this is awesome because it makes so much sense. And she was an educator, and she worked with young people, and so this was a really important element. So the depression is where we are, okay? And so we have a choice. We can go up over the hill and go to the future because we can't see anything from where we are, so we have to find a way to climb out of this depression. And so our elders talk about this differently, but they said we have to go back to see what they were seeing because they see everything where we're going to go. So we need to see where they're seeing. We can't make a new direction once we climb up over the front of that depression and then figure out we're going to know what we're doing. We're not going to know what we're doing because we actually have to go back and find out where we were first to go forward. So this is so you guys, in case you didn't know, you're being decolonized. That's how they call it in the institutions of learning. It's a good word. So we go back that way, we can see the future, and we're going to figure out where we're going. I really love this idea because it was so simple and it made a lot of sense that even you guys, it's not just the Indigenous people that are going to decolonized, because, the colonizing world happened to everyone. I mean, we can talk about the indigenous people. It really happened here in a big, bad way. But even for the people coming from Europe, they were colonized too, because their uniqueness was taken from them and put into this thing called the melting pot. Like, you're supposed to forget about your whole culture and fit in. So it happened to a lot of people. And so I just wanted to share that, because I think, context about our journeys together is there's a reason, because we've all are familiar with that kind of stuff. Next. So this is part of our culture. This is Norval Marceau, one of his famous works called Man Changing into Thunderbird. But really he's talking about shape-shifting. We have these medicine people that are so powerful that they can change from a human to an animal, to a thunderbird in this case. And so there's all kinds of mysteries connected with our culture. That kind of thing is one of those. And then we have these ceremonies that are really interesting. Like, we have a Yuipi ceremony and a shaking tent ceremony where forces come into there and they bring knowledge into the elder that's in there working for the people. So he goes in and they tell him what their need is or what they got problems. They let him know. He goes into the shaking tent ceremony, and the spirits, they empower him with this wisdom to share with these people about how to fix what's going on with them, and so they do. But this is the same kind of power. That's a mysterious power that you can't find, and where is it's located, and how come only certain people can have that kind of power? Well, because certain people are born that way, according to some elders that I spoke of. And I met some of these elders that were very powerful. They call them starmen, these elders, and they're very special. Like this one elder, we were at a Sundance, and I'm a Sundancer. It's a big ceremony. It's 4 days, no food or water. You're dancing in the hot sun down in South Dakota. And anyways, there was a big storm coming to hit our Sundance, and we don't want a storm. We want it to be a nice sunny Sundance. So the storm was coming, and the elder went into the middle of the Sundance Arbor, and he held up some medicine into the sky. And you could see he was praying and talking. And then he put that medicine on the ground, and that storm, when it came, it split right in two and went right around our camp. And I can't explain it. And right now it just sounds like a story to you guys, but I saw it happen. So I'm in awe of these kind of things, and I'm a student who's always looking for this kind of knowledge, because I run the sweat lodges, and I have to know what's going on in my lodge with all the people that come in there. So next, please. And this is an example of that birch bark scroll. Here it is on the birch bark. So this birch bark is an interesting thing that the indigenous people learned to use to write on it. I think I'm going to be... one more? Oh. So the birch bark scroll is like a communicator device. It's still alive, even after they peel it off. And you guys don't know this, but the trees are talking all the time to each other and to the universe all the time. This is our understanding of it. And so what's important about that is that when the message is put on there, it's being sent to the universe too. So it's sending a signal out, saying, hey, we're down here. And, we do ceremonies like that when when you're in need. Sometimes, every once in a while, we get lost, and we have to try and find our way back to the path. And so sometimes you can get these trees to help you. You get, like what ours told you, you get some little tobacco, and you put it in your left hand because it's closest to your heart. That's why you carry that tobacco in your left hand. And you hold it, say your prayer. You put that prayer right on the tree and tell the tree what's going on. And I tell you, within 4 days, an answer comes with your problem, your answer to your problem. And so these trees are communicating to the universe, and It's a very real thing. Like when I do workshops or when I do tours, bus tours and stuff, sometimes I show the people these things on them and tell them this is a good way of, if you ever get stuck, you're not alone, ever. You can always ask for help. So why the universe? Well, because the Creator's up there. We're talking to the Creator when we put that message out. Next, please. So here we have a bunch of pictographs. I think they're pictographs, maybe they're petroglyphs. So petroglyphs are all over this place called Petroglyph Park in Peterborough. I don't know if any of you have ever been there, but it's a pretty extraordinary place, and you should, if you haven't, go check it out. Probably be better if you come with me, though, because I'll give you a good tour and I'll explain all the things you're looking at on the rock. I did a ceremony there with, because I have many hats and I work with many institutions. I was the elder for the York University students. So we went on a trip out to Peterborough to see the Petroglyph Park, and I brought my pipe with me, and we had a pipe ceremony on the rock. And we were on the rock having the ceremony, and there was big crashing thunder was going on. We thought, wow, there's a big storm. Luckily, we're in here. Big storm going on outside. Not all the students wanted to come in because they're afraid of me. They thought I might find out their secrets or something, But I don't do that kind of stuff because the spirits, they don't want me to do that kind of stuff either. They want me to help somebody. So we're doing our ceremony. The big thunder and lightning was happening out, and when we did the ceremony, we put the offering on the rock with water and a little bit of food. And we did our prayer, passed the pipe around. The whole time it was thundering. And it's just saying boom, 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 like a big thunderstorm was rolling overhead. So we get the ceremony done and we get out. And lo and behold, we talked to the other students that were out there. They didn't come in. I said, what are you talking about? There was no storm. The storm was only in there over the rock. So we figured we were at the edge of the underworld and that we could hear the ancestors on the other side. The thunder beings were there too. And that's what it was talking to us. Those thunder beings were letting us know that you're at the right place doing the right thing with the right people. So next. I think this is it. This is going to be it pretty soon. Okay, so this is details. You can see this one here. I don't know if you guys can see that back there, but it looks like Bugs Bunny. So no, they call him Nanabush, and they say he's a real trickster and can change into all kinds of shapes. But if you ever see him, I guarantee it won't be funny. It'll be very spooky. Because I've heard some people say that they've seen him out there in the wild. That the Nanabush, they saw tall as a man with big rabbit ears, And so he's a very mysterious figure, a trickster. Usually comes around to put you in the right place, and that's in part of the universe too, right? Sometimes we need a lesson to be humble, or sometimes we need a lesson to, stop being so timid all the time. Just move ahead, Learn what you need to learn so you can be here for the right reason. Why you're here is we all come here to learn something. That's guaranteed. And but these are definitely petroglyphs, so they're carved into that. It was such a crazy thing about this whole place because this was all covered by peat moss most of the time. And only the medicine people knew where this place was and they could go and find it. Well, when the outside found it, they uncovered the whole thing and they left it exposed, and they could see that because the rain is like acid rain now, that it was eating away at all the images. So their brilliant plan was to put a big building over top of this whole rock. So now when they go do ceremonies, that it's always exposed. But okay, next. Okay, we're going to be winding up, maybe right here. So this is the last big image I'm going to show you. This is a petrel form. It's a great turtle, and it's a pathfinder. So when you find this turtle, you see where his tail is and his head is. If you follow where the head is pointing, It's going to take you home, because that's where the village is. And it's been there for probably about 2,400 years. It's just sitting there. People don't touch it. Like our community, they won't touch things when they see it like that. They know it's just meant to be left. But they're all over North America. And there's even one here in High Park. There was a medicine wheel. People call it Hawk Hill now, but it's the little hill by the restaurant, that parking lot in High Park. The top of that hill is a medicine wheel site where they used to monitor the sky and all the stars. And, we have a teaching called the 13 Moon Teaching. Well, the medicine wheel is part of that. So the medicine wheel actually was like the turtle's back. It has a central point, and it has all these radiating lines coming out to different parts. And so when they're monitoring these stars coming down on the edge of the horizon line, when it hits a certain line at a certain time of year, they know it's time to either plant or harvest some form of food. So Indigenous people were interested in time because monitoring that time allowed Indigenous people to be very successful. So the medicine wheel itself that's in High Park is around 5,000 years old. And it's not an accident either that it's 5,000 years old. There's another object that's just as important that signifies the name Toronto. Okay, do you guys know what Toronto means? Anybody? Raise your hands. Oh. Very good. Okay, that's one of 3 names. You know the other 2? Do you know the other 2? So, meeting place where sticks stand in the water, fishing weir. So it really is about fishing weir, because at the fishing weir, people would gather for weeks, gathering those fish and sun-drying them. So they'd be there for a couple of weeks all together, and they would be sharing the news of all the region with each other. That's why they call it meeting place, because they'd be there doing this fishing for a couple of weeks at a time, maybe even a month at a time, getting ready for the fall, harvesting the fish, getting it dried, because fish was an important fuel for Indigenous people. Because when you think about Indigenous people, you just figure, okay, they live off of deer and moose and all these other big critters, but no. Fish was a very important part of the Indigenous diet because there was a really important fat connected with the fish and even with the birds. So those birds and fish had certain kind of fat that allowed them to turn that deer meat and moose meat into a fuel. Because sometimes, if you eat too much of that food, what happens is it begins to poison your system. So the Indigenous people figured that they needed fish and birds in their diet in order for that not to happen. So even more so, when he paints his paintings, you see a lot of times there's fish and birds, because he was painting that story. Like which, everyone? I'm done.
Thank you, Philip. Thank you for sharing. We want to thank you for coming to share wisdom and song and teachings, Philip. And we look forward to ongoing conversation, collaboration, and opportunities for sharing wisdom, music, and art. And we thank you. And we'll have a gift in the reception afterwards. And if anybody wants to mingle and say hello to Philip, he'll be in the stewardess hallway for a coffee hour afterwards. So thank you, thank you. And we have a gift of a song to share now, and it's an opportunity for us as well to share our gifts. There's so many different ways that we share in this community, our talents, our treasures, our time, our attention, and we thank this community for sharing, and grateful for the staff singers and Jason sharing song now. So we'll invite you to share an offering as they share with us. And we thank you for that gift and that powerful reminder. And as our offering comes forward, we're going to pray over it together. Printed in the bulletin is the offering prayer, which I invite you to join me in praying now. Holy One, bless our offerings and transform them into compassion for others, community for the lonely, and hope for the church and the world. Amen. And we've got a few things I just wanted to highlight for the week ahead. Also for today, we have flowers here today placed by Joan Shepherd and family in honor of Ron Shepherd. We appreciate that and send blessings to the Shepherd family. Today we have a concert here this afternoon at 3 p.m. Many of you will have tickets. Most of you will have heard of this by now. We invite you to come support the choir as we prepare for our trip to Newfoundland in 2 weeks from now. I guess we'll be there. So tickets are $25. They'll be available at the door. If you're joining online for the live stream, we'll ask you to buy your ticket before 2 p.m. so that you can register for that. Tomorrow evening, we're holding our solstice meditation here in the sanctuary. You'll be invited to join us at 7 p.m. for that. Tuesday evening at 7, we've got Islington Reads. Probably just enough time to read the book if you'd like between now and then. Details are on the website. And as you will know from your invitation, the postcards you received upon arriving today, next Sunday is Pride Sunday. And we'll invite you to the barbecue that will follow after service. We can head right down out the back of the sanctuary, out the narthex, and be greeted by the barbecue there. We'll bless the new Pride bench. We have a great lunch, lots of activities for the children, the whole family. There will be music and giveaways. So do bring your friends and family, neighbors to this free, fun celebration. You can take a selfie together on the new Pride bench. And alongside Pride, there are a few other things to celebrate this week. Bethel's family has all made it last week. Many of you will have seen them. Bethel is here, and some of her family, I think, is with her here. Oh, the whole family, perhaps. They found a home, and they're moving in tomorrow, so we're grateful. Congrats to Bethel. We are so happy to celebrate that with you. We've got a couple birthdays here today. Catherine Locke, Jason's sister, I saw her, she's here. Over at the back there, happy birthday. And Janice Landell, Maya's mom, shares your birthday today. Tomorrow, Dee Strickler. On Tuesday, Nancy Tamus. Wednesday, June Jayatakile and Jamie Mutia. Thursday, J.P. Molen. Friday, Rod Haskin has a birthday, and on Saturday, Virginia, who is here, and also June Weavers, well named. We have 2 Junes celebrating birthdays this week, so happy birthday to all of you. If you see them in the Stewardies Hall for coffee, you can wish them happy birthday for the week. I will invite you to stand as you're able now, friends, as we'll sing our departing song, More Voices 98, Like a River of Tears Renewing Our Spirits.
Creator, giver of breath and maker of life, blesses you with enduring, everlasting, ever-expanding love. Jesus, Creator who sets us free, a dark-skinned wisdom keeper, blesses you with a love that is so full of transformative power, it warms your whole being. The Holy Spirit, Spirit of life, blesses you with peace, gentleness, and harmony. Miigwech. Amen.